All the juggalos in recovery.
They say it only takes two or more for a meeting, and it looks like it's just me and you for right now.
Right?
Um, I'm basically gonna do. I'm doing a step study, so this is gonna be step one and the principle behind step one. But I'm gonna for Facebook Live. I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off. Hey everybody, my name is D. Ryder, also Bryant Best, and this is a Juggalos in Recovery meeting. We like to welcome all of you and glad you're here, especially the newcomers. The first rule of Juggalos in Recovery is we tell everybody about Juggalos in Recovery. The second rule is I want to kick your addiction in the balls. The third rule is call your mom. On a serious note, I'll be hosting this meeting. We're here to fight back against our addiction and enjoy our lives. If you are fighting an addiction, then I'm glad you are here. If you're here just to support or someone you know, then thank you, homie. Thank you, homie, and much respect. This meeting is held every Friday. Room opens at 8 and the meeting starts at 8:30. That's Eastern Standard Time. Juggalos in Recovery is an open choice meeting. While this is an open meeting, we ask you to share only if you have a desire not to use. And now I will read the steps. Step one, we admitted we were powerless over our addiction and that we couldn't handle life anymore. Step two, we came to believe that the carnival could help us screw our fucking heads on straight. Step three, we made a decision to not only serve ourselves, but also our community. Step four, we looked at ourselves deeply without fear to recognize the good and bad in us all and all. You open up to the carnival, ourselves and the other juggalos about the shitty and not so shitty things we did during our lives. Step six, we're entirely ready to have our community take our flaws and show us how to make them our strengths. Step seven, we asked humbly that the carnival take our flaws and guide us to the path of Shangri-La. Step eight, we made a list of all persons we hurt during our lives and became willing to admit our fuck ups and change our ways. Step nine, we forgive ourselves as long as we try to fix our fuck ups without causing any more drama. Step 10, we continue to fix ourselves daily as soon as we realize that we fucked up. Step 11, the truth of the matter is we can lean on our Juggalo family so we can find happiness. Step 12, having our eyes open to this new way of life, we now carry this message to other addicts who are still suffering, whether Juggalo or not, because every human matters. All right, so I'm starting a step study and it will be going for the next 12 weeks. This week will be on powerless and the principle behind it, which is honesty. And I know for me, I got sober November 2018. And the hardest thing to ever do was admit that I was beat, that I was powerless, that I had no control over people, places, things, everything going on in my life. I had no control over the drugs, alcohol, anything that and everything that I thought I had control over, I had no control whatsoever. And that was me having to learn to be completely honest with myself, which is part of step one, like coming and being honest with yourself that you can't keep living the same way you were living. That was the hardest part for me, was 18 years of drinking, drugging, institutions, along all the other bad vices I had. The hardest thing was to say, like, I can't keep doing it. And it took me being broken down mentally, spiritually, physically, pushing and burning every single bridge to get to that point where I could admit that I couldn't do it anymore and I needed help, that life was unmanageable. And once I made that first step, in a minute I was powerless and finally became honest with myself, like completely honest, and tried to carry that honesty forward. My life started getting better. It wasn't instantly, of course, but through the process of working the steps and trying to live the principles behind the steps, just admitting I was powerless gave me some sort of power and gave me some sort of hope that things could be better. And here I am almost 4 years later, and that giving up the control I thought I had over my drugs and alcohol and addiction changed my life to where I live in my higher power's will and everything goes how that goes. And I am no longer powerless over a drink or a drug. It's my choice if I choose to go do that again. Um, if I choose to give my power up to anything, that's my choice these days. Um, and as long as I'm walking with my higher power and doing what I can and living by the principles behind the steps, I know that I'm good in my sobriety. Um, it looks like it's still miss just me and you, Russ. So if you want to share, you can unmute your mic and share on step one.
Okay. What's up? I'm Russ. I'm alcoholic. I actually got 102 days sober today.
Nice, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm still working on the steps, still trying to, I know at this point I should probably have a sponsor and all that, but I haven't really settled on anybody. But it's a work in progress. It all is. So yeah, I'm still new to the steps when it comes to powerlessness. I knew about, I think it was back in mid-July, that everything was going out of control. I was in the process of losing my place. I separated from my wife, and so I lost my family, lost my job, and ended up losing my place. And I knew everything was pretty much going to shit. So I knew it was time to get help then. And I went through detox and got put in the detox clinic, went to rehab, and now I'm in a sober living facility. And once I don't know, I just knew losing everything I was getting to a point to where I hate to say it, but I lost myself.
Yeah.
Kind of, and I don't know. I lost contact with my higher power for years, and that's again something I'm still trying to rebuild on. And again, as another work in progress. But we talk. Another thing I seen about is talking about the truth and everything is. After sitting back and thinking about it, having a few days, a few weeks clean under my belt, I was like, I got nobody to blame but myself. I tried blaming everybody else for all my problems throughout, 20 years of drinking and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Every time something went to hell, well, where was you? What did you do to, fuck it up? But at the end of the day, what was I doing?
Yeah,
So,
I totally agree with you on that because I have went through similar things. I just have a longer amount of sobriety than you, which is irrelevant because it doesn't matter how long your time is because the next day you can lose it if you're not
right.
practicing a program. And it doesn't matter what your addiction is, if it's drugs, if it's alcohol, if it's sex, gambling, whatever, the 12 steps can be applied to anything, And I'm a hardcore alcoholic and addict, and 18 years of drinking and drugging. I was finally so spiritually broken. I was so spiritually broken down. Sorry, somebody text real quick. That I didn't, like you're saying, I didn't know who I was anymore. I was a shell of a person. I didn't know who I was, where I was going, what was going to happen in my life. Nothing at all, And 30 years old and 10 years of being locked up and everything going on and losing who I was completely and pushing myself away from everybody and everything once I had came, like you were saying, and been honest with myself and accepting I did everything myself, like I was like homeless, living in a van, was in a halfway for a year, started working at the sober living for another 3 years, and I still work there now. But once I accepted my part and everything and knew I was the creator of my own meaning and of my making and got honest, right? Which is working. The first step is being honest with yourself. Life started getting better. And I can agree, like feel you, like it's awkward trying to find somebody to help you walk through this, whatever 12-step program you're working. It's awkward, like, hey, other guy, would you like to sit down and read and hang out and help me learn to be an adult and live my life?
Put the ego aside and
Weird. Yeah.
and that's kind of the problem I still have is like, I like in my head, like I go to meetings and stuff and I'm like, okay, I see somebody, they talk, and I'm like, I like, I kind of, I feel you. I think, I think he'd make a good sponsor, but then when it comes time to actually ask him, it's like, and I still got that male pride, like.
Well, yeah, it's the pride thing. That's what makes it weird. It's like my pride doesn't want to ask another human being for help. My ego doesn't want to do that, right?
Right.
But when we finally admit to our innermost selves, that we are powerless over whatever is bringing us down in our life, and then we are honest with ourselves, that's the step for us to be able to find somebody to help us walk us through the rest of it, right? And every step has the principle that you're practicing in that step. And it's not about being honest. Like, yeah, of course you should be honest with everybody else, but it's most important that you're honest to yourself, right? That you live with integrity and truth to yourself and that you know what it is. Like, I'm the best at lying and manipulating myself and going, pushing the blame if I have to or doing whatever. Like, the best thing I learned to do was own my shit and not be sorry about it.
Right.
And that is a lifelong process. Like you're saying, you got like 100 days sober. Trust me, I'm almost 4 years sober. And sometimes it sucks like having to own your shit, but that's what you have to do when you're trying to live a honest program and stay sober and practice the principles behind the steps. Right. The easy part is going, I'm fucked about this. The hard part is being honest and sticking with it.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things I had to do is, I've been, I got 4 kids and I've been with their mom for 11 years now. We're married and everything. And one of the hardest things I had to do is, for all those years, my oldest is only 9. So, all these years, I'm like, I'm a pretty damn good father. But then I start, thinking back, like that's one of the hardest parts is those late nights in bed when I'm sitting there and I got all the time to think about everything. And I think about, what I wasn't there when this happened. I could have been better for this, that, and the other. And I had to, tell their mom, like, look, I wasn't the greatest husband. I wasn't the greatest father, even though all the arguments we had throughout the years, I was, more or less defending myself, for my fuck ups.
I mean, I totally feel you. Same boat, same woman on and off for 15 going on 16 years. 2 kids, not 4, finally about to get married. And I was not the greatest person either and always pushed the blame and was not a great dad and all the missed time. But we can't sit around and worried about all the missed times, right? I was saying this, I think, in the last meeting we had Monday, but they make the rear view mirror very small and the front very big, right? It's about where you're going, not where you're coming from, right? Everything we did in our past is just building blocks and experiences to make us grow into better people. So if we keep beating ourselves up because we're the worst critic about all the things we did when we were powerless, it doesn't help us grow or change those things, right? We're just living in that same pain, that emotion, that agony, right? We have to learn to forgive ourselves. And that's the hardest part through working the steps, like, saying I'm powerless and trying to be honest about everything going forward is easy, right? Letting go of all the bad feelings and thoughts and mental processes is very hard compared to that. But it's still no harder than the things we've already done to ourselves, because those are probably some of the worst things we did. And they were so bad. That's why we drank and drug and did the crazy things we did to numb all of that, to not think about it.
Right.
What's up, Chris? I see you driving.
we're on our way to the carnival just outside of Detroit with Jump. Catch me.
I had somebody from the Monday meeting earlier in here, and I know I've seen Russ before, and I just couldn't share it live to the Juggalos and Recovery page, so I used my own page and I kept posting it. And it's very hard to post a post in Juggalos and Recovery page. I had to alter it so much just to get that post in there. I couldn't like just share all my stuff.
Right, I feel you. It's kind of a pain in the ass. I really wish we had a better way to streamline it.
It's all right. It works out. Two or more is a meeting. I got Russ and I got you while you're driving, and so far so good. So on that note though, so this is step one. And for the next 11 weeks, I'll be going through the steps, Russ, with the principle behind it and try to get a little bit more in depth, and just I like to bounce opinions and thoughts on it back and forth. So I really appreciate your participation here. And early recovery, man, there is nothing scary about this process, whatever you're going through recovery for. Everybody hypes up certain parts of the steps. And I'll tell you, once I was honest with myself and was powerless, right? It wasn't that hard to tell another human being when I found him what a piece of shit I was, a liar, a cheater, a thief, right? I already knew all that about myself. And when I found that person to do my fourth and fifth step with, it really wasn't that hard to do it. The shitty part is when you go to make amends and you can only clean your side of the street, and then somebody tells you, fuck you, go in hell. I don't care if you're doing good. I hate you. Right? Because that's our blow to our pride and our ego that we're working on not feeling like a piece of shit. And somebody reconfirms, yeah, you're still don't like you. Right. And still, that's not that bad. Right. We're lucky to be alive, free, wherever we're at. Out of all the other people in the world, we're still around. So that is a beautiful thing.
Oh, yeah.
So if you get a little nervous through going through your steps, don't worry. And I put my number in the chat if you want to get it and talk to me. More than open, sponsor and helping you out, whatever. So all you have to do is send me a text. Let me know it's you, because I work in the treatment field and get a lot of messages all the time. So I don't answer numbers till I know who it is.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm looking to do here is a couple of people around our little campus here have done their, they got more time than me, so they're working on their peer support classes. Mm-hmm. And I've been trying to pick their brain a little bit before I make any kind of commitment, but that's definitely something I've been looking into.
Well, just like being a juggalo is a way of life, being in recovery is a way of life. So if you're in it, you're kind of in it, and it only makes sense to try to give back. But my experience is it is mentally draining making this a line of work, because I help run a 72-person facility, and I will tell you, it has broken me mentally and spiritually multiple times.
Oh, yeah. Because
boundaries and learning not to want to save everybody and connections is a tough thing. When we see people coming where we come from, and all we want to do is help them get where we're at, and not everybody is ready for this way of life. So
yeah, that's an unfortunate truth. Right after I got here, my roommate in the rehab facility I was in, I was here about 2 weeks, and I got a call that he had passed away from an overdose on the actual, he somehow got a hold of something while he was still at the rehab clinic, and they found him behind one of the sheds there. So that kind of broke me back a little bit, and I ain't gonna lie, I kind of that one of my first thoughts was I could use a drink, but
and then that doesn't ever change it for long. It's good for those couple seconds, but it's never
it's not gonna bring him back. It's not not gonna change anything.
And out of my like 4 years of recovery, I've had a couple like fleeting thoughts where I lose somebody and I'm like, oh, double shot would be nice right now. And then I go, no, the fucking wouldn't. And then the people I lost, they were like, everybody looked up to him. That means, oh, I should be more like this person. He was selfless, caring, did all this. I should strive to be more that way in remembrance than to go back
Right.
where I'm at. Because I just try to keep the mindset when I lose anybody that they're at peace.
Yeah.
So that's the hard part. Because we're powerless over that situation, right? So what is punishing ourselves going to do over something we can't control? Right.
So the hardest part about that, I mean, losing him, but his mom actually stayed at the same facility I'm at. So when I got back here, she had just found out. So, you could hear her screams from down the road, and that was heartbreaking. And, being a father, I can only imagine what it's like to lose a child, especially to something like this. And that's one thing I'm trying to do is, what they say is break that cycle, because my grandparents and my parents, they all drank and smoked and, everything in between. And I don't want that for my kids.
Oh yeah, I know. I mean, like I said, I have kids of my own, and I try to lead them in the best way. But at the end of the day, it's going to be their choice when they get older, and all I can do is be as honest with them as I can. See a principle right there. Anything they ask, I tell them. And
Right.
people are like, you bring your kid, 11-year-old, to a meeting about drugs and alcohol? I damn sure do. And he
Yeah.
knows where I've been and he knows the places I've been. And I'm going to be honest with him. And hopefully that steers him away from everything I had to go through. You know,
Right.
the
Yeah,
youngest, he doesn't know as much. So bless him. That will be the one I'll have my hands full with later on in life.
Yeah, my two youngest ones, they don't understand. I mean, they're 4 years old, and the youngest actually just turned 4 months a couple days ago. And but they don't understand. But at least one thing I know is they'll never see me the way the older two did. They'll never see dad drunk on the couch trying to or what I tried my best to keep all that away from them, but they nobody's perfect. So
Yeah. I mean, that's just how it goes, man. That's life. Nobody is perfect. We learn from our mistakes. And the good part about being in any 12-step fellowship is we have the chance to be the best us and learn these steps and learn the principles behind steps and be the best version of ourselves, where a lot of people don't get that opportunity.
Right.
And
It's also important during your first year to really just focus on you and rely on your community
yeah.
when possible.
My first 10 or 11 months, I was single. Me and the fiance, soon to be wife, were not together. With that never being a sight, every bridge burnt down. I was just learning to be happy and at peace and comfortable in my own skin, something I never ever was. Right. And when I learned what being comfortable in your own skin and be in peace, being able to sit alone and not think and not worry and just relax, that was amazing. Um, and then eventually she asked me back out, and you see where that goes. And life got beautiful, but the most important thing is the inner peace, man, the peace of mind. Knowing that I'm worth something nowadays, right? Because when I was in my addiction and I was powerless, and I didn't see any point to anything because I had no self-worth left.
Right.
So
That's what I'm still trying to work on is, being comfortable, like you said, being comfortable in your own skin. Because having that, that addict personality, I wanted everything, as soon as I went to, detox, I was expecting, my wife to be, oh, I'm so proud of you. And here I am, like I said, 100 some days in, and I'm still expecting her to, give me all kinds of praise and pats on the back, right? And
It's that instant gratification. That's what we always seek. Whatever feels good at that moment. And I want what I want, right when I want it.
I
And
got to remind myself that.
unfortunately, when you drank and drugged and did the crazy things you did in your life the way I did, that takes a lot of time and sometimes more time with other people than others. I can remember being working on a program. I went through my steps. I'm like 100. I'm like, as long sober as you are, I already been through my steps. And my dad hands me a bank card, his, and gives me the pin and tells me not to worry about a receipt while I'm going to Walmart. And I'm like, what the fuck? So he's seen me doing my thing and believed in me before anybody else believed in me, before I believed in me, the ex-girlfriend, anybody. The ex-girlfriend probably took the longest, if I'm to be honest.
Yeah, like I said, I got to remind myself, I put her through 10 years of bullshit. And so I got to remind myself that, she's got a reason to be doubtful and kind of make one.
Keep working an honest program, and do your steps, and you learn to be at peace and comfortable in your own skin, and you get that peace of mind, and you're not worried about who's thinking what or doing what. And when she's ready, and you're ready, and that's what matters, but it comes through the process, because it's a process. It doesn't, and it's like going to the gym and watching other people work out, and then you don't lift any weights, you don't get any stronger. It's the same thing when you're doing your steps. Like, if you don't actually do the work, you're not going to get any stronger. So it's like pointless.
Retrain the brain, like,
yeah.
The person you have to impress is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing. One of the hardest things was one of the guys at the rehab clinic. He told me, he's like, you got to put yourself first. He was like, then worry about your kids and your wife. And I was like, put my kids trying to put my kids before me. Like, they always came first.
Nope.
That was the hardest thing to wrap my head around.
I mean, if I'm to be completely honest with myself, practicing that principle, when I was drinking and drugging, my kids were not first. Nobody was first. I wasn't even first. The drink and the drug were first.
Right.
Right. Then my job to get the drink and the drug, then myself, then my kids, then whoever else. Right. So the most important thing I do these days is I'm selfish. I will admit that, but I'm also selfless. I'm selfish because I will do whatever I have to do to stay sober, which means helping other people. So my sobriety is number one. Then comes kids and work and the family and all that. Because if I'm not sober and happy with myself, I'm not good for anybody else. So if I don't go to a meeting for a week or two and people see me start getting short-tempered and aggravated and pissed off, they already know I need to get my ass to a meeting, and they'll tell me, like, just talk to your sponsor lately. Have you been to a meeting? Have you done anything to help anybody? And I look back and I go, yeah, you're right. I've been slacking. I need to go. Right. When I put myself on the back burner, I'm only a couple steps away from the insanity that I came from. Right. And when I admitted I was powerless and found power through something else and kept being honest, life got better. And I don't want to go back to that shit, because that shit's brutal.
I caught myself doing that last week. I didn't go to any meetings last week, and I started getting complacent, and just in that 1 week, and I felt myself getting irritable and just restless, and I noticed I was starting to have more dreams about, using and stuff like that. And I had somebody point that out to me, and they said the same thing. I was like, you need to get your ass to a meeting.
Yeah, and that's what you call true friendships. They're practicing honesty too, because they're going to be blunt and straightforward with you, and those are the people you need in your life. Right. Nobody that's going to sugarcoat shit and let you just slide by, right? Because those people don't care what happens to you, but I have a host of friends that will say stuff right to my face, and those are the ones right here in my town that do that I love dearly, because if it wasn't for them, then I'd probably go back out.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this time last year, somebody like that would have just pissed me off. But like,
Yeah.
Because I wasn't thinking, they're trying to be like, I looked at it the opposite. I didn't look at him as a true friend. I looked at him as someone who was, judgmental, and in hindsight, it's like, they were trying to light a fire under my ass, and
Yeah,
we realized where I was fucking up.
that but that's a good feeling. Like, I went to the gathering this year, I came back, and all my homies were like, where the fuck you been at? You ain't been here for 2 weekends. And then I just had a friend that came in from Germany, and I haven't been to my home group in a couple weeks. So I'm sure when I go tomorrow, they'll be like, what happened to you? Where you been at? They're gonna be giving me a hard time. And then I'm gonna tell them what I was doing. They're like, oh, that's cool. That's what's up, scumbag. And we'll just lovingly call each other scumbags, because that's what we do down here.
I wish I would have been able to go, but no, when the gathering kicked off, I was just getting over here. So
If I miss 1 week of home group, somebody says something to me. It never fails, because they know I'm like always there. So when I'm not there, they're like, what's going on?
yeah, something's up. Like,
no, I'm just living my best life here, like they say.
Yeah. Just so you know, Russ, we do have meetings at the gathering 3 times a day.
oh yeah,
Every day.
Yep.
Times a day.
Every day.
And Chris probably remembers days better than me, but I think we're having 3 or 4 different Zoom meetings a night during the week, starting.
So we're gonna have Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays for meetings for regular addicts, and then I believe Stacy on Thursdays is going to be running something similar to an Al-Anon,
which I'm excited to try that. I think addicts and alcoholics all have codependency issues, and all need some Al-Anon in their life. So it kind of goes hand in hand. So I'm kind of interested in that one.
That's one thing I've never looked into was was Al-Anon.
Well, Al-Anon is like primarily for like partners of addicts, so that they've got a place to try to understand the mind state of their partners.
Okay. I just know I've been dependent on people my whole life, and if it wasn't for people, I don't know where I'd be. So I'm definitely have codependency problems. I always have to be intimate with somebody, even when I'm alone. I will find that person to lean on and suck them dry, because that's codependency for me.
I can see a little bit of that in myself.
Yeah, I think
I'll say a little bit.
Territory.
Yeah, but going forward, we're going to be Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. You can find our previous meetings up on YouTube. We got a Patreon. You can find our meeting schedule on the website, Facebook.
Yeah, going through some changes, so trying to keep everything up to date. And I know for sure the actual web page, not the Facebook page, has been up to date for the most part. So
I think it needs to be reformatted, because while it's got our meeting IDs, there's no meeting links. So for the technically challenged, not so great.
yeah, I'm technically challenged, and surprisingly, Chris, I got this going. Second.
I know.
Time.
Wild.
It's still confusing, because I was trying to check.
No, I'm not the only one that suffers from that.
Well, my addiction and alcoholism took me places. Like, I disappeared for a good 4 years of my life, and when I went away, I had the flippy.
Right.
I got out, and I had a computer in my hand, and was like, what the hell has life went to? And where did MySpace go?
Oh yeah, Jesus, right?
What is this book of faces?
I remember I had somebody one time, they asked me, and this was years into Facebook, and I'm like, well, I still got MySpace, and they're like, dude, like everybody left that years ago. So I think me and Tom were the only ones left on there.
Yeah, I feel you there. All right. Well, it's a smaller meeting tonight, and if nobody has anything else to share on step 1 or the principal, or if you want to keep talking, we can keep doing that, whatever. If not, we
Yeah,
close.
I ain't got shit to share. We're about to pull up to the carnival.
All right, you have fun at the carnival. You just can't stay away from those. You're around them year round, Chris. I take it. It's Halloween time.
It's literally my job.
Halloween time too. Time to get lit. My favorite holiday. Buy all types of creepy stuff and walk around and spook people out, even when it's not on Halloween. All right, but with that, I will go ahead and end this meeting. It was nice to see you again, Russ. I think I've seen you within the last couple weeks, and always nice to see you, Chris. For anybody that missed the meeting, join us again next Friday or Monday or Wednesday. Check the Juggalos and Recovery website. We're with the meeting times and meeting IDs. Got something, Chris?
Just want to catch up with you after a meeting and you end recording.
Okay, yes, sir. All right. So I want to thank you all for being here, and please keep coming back. We may not see each other or hear from each other, but we are here for each other. We will now close by asking myself to read the Juggalo prayer. I believe no matter how long the road, if we walk together, we will get there. Even though we will face some of the darkest evil ever seen, we will face it as a community and stand fearless in its path. Nothing will stop us. With the help of our family and community, we will overcome the persecution and tribulations that life may cast from time to time. To the one who still suffers and hasn't found the path to serenity and community, we will continue to search for you and help you no matter what your ailment. We carry out our stories and messages to everyone who will listen. As the sun descends and the night becomes, we arise to take the path. All right, and I will see you next time.
You guys have a great night.
All right, you too.
Yep, have a good night, Russ.